First, I'd like to say hi to everyone. Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Sabrina, and as Joy mentioned, I am your dedicated account manager here at Mango. Basically, I always say my job is to help make your job easier. So I'm here to help support you with the resource. Hopefully, most of you are somewhat familiar with Mango, or at least the fact that Galileo does partner with us, and we've got access to all public libraries for free. So for those of you who might not be familiar, or like Joy said, for those of you who maybe haven't seen us since last year or even longer, we are going to take a look at all that Mango has to offer. We're going to do a brief overview of Mango's functionalities and then talk a little bit about how Mango can help you kind of get the word out there that the resource is available for your patrons and to help support the communities. So for those that are not familiar with Mango, there are over 70 world languages and more than 20 ESL courses that are available on both mobile and desktop. We're going to start by talking about Mango's key features and the methodology, and then we'll actually run through a quick demonstration of a lesson in the program. So Mango teaches the building blocks of language using practical everyday conversations that are presented by native speakers of the language. So rather than teach sentences like the boy wore a blue shirt or the donkey ate a carrot, like some other language learning resources do, Mango does it in a more practical way using real life conversations and focusing on things like vocabulary, pronunciation, culture, and grammar. So I just mentioned we've got more than 70 world languages, more than 20 ESL courses, and then we also have more than 30 30 additional specialty courses. So those range in topic from practical things like business for Mandarin, for example. We have a Spanish for librarians course, but there's also some fun ones. We have like a soccer celebration course for Portuguese. There's a wine and cheese course for French. So there's really a ton of stuff that's available. So here you can see a complete list of all of the languages that we currently have, with our top 10 most popular and most in-depth courses highlighted in blue. So we will be jumping into an actual lesson in a few moments, but just to give you a quick preview of the interface, Mango's all-in-one course selection interface makes it super easy to navigate and access all of the features that are available for a language. And it also helps track user progress and makes it nice and easy to see how far they're going. So some of the key features that we're about to see, as I mentioned before, we do teach the language in practical conversational ways. So you're going to see content from everyday conversations between two native speakers. We also have listening and reading activities that challenge learners with both familiar and new course content. So these include things like written passages, audio segments, comprehension questions. There is also a relatively new personalized review system feature. This feature is great because it adapts to each individual learner, because it kind of picks up on their particular progress and their learning behaviors. So it adapts to each individual learner and challenges them on what they need to practice for the language. We also have relevant culture and grammar notes that you'll find throughout all of the lessons to help establish a deeper connection with both the language and the culture that the learner is using. We've also got memory building and critical thinking exercises sprinkled throughout. So these are designed to help the learner learn how to actually think in their new languages and how to put sentences together, as opposed to just memorizing different things and kind of regurgitating them. As you're completing the lessons, you'll also find features like our semantic color mapping, information that highlights the understood versus literal meaning in specific cases where that's required. We've also got phonetic pop-ups and a voice comparison tool to help you with pronunciation and with truly understanding how the different words and phrases are paced and pronounced and things like that. And so today we are going to take a look at the desktop version of Mango, but Mango is available on mobile apps as well. So we've got apps available for iOS, Android, PC, Mac, and they do sync seamlessly with the desktop version. So it's great for people who might be, if your library is still open, you've got people actually in there learning the language, or if they're at home on the desktop computer, if they want to jump on the go as well, Mango makes it super easy to navigate between the two platforms. So Mango's mobile apps are available for both iOS and Android, and they have unique features like the offline learning. So you're able to download the lessons while you have internet so that you're able to utilize them without. It's great for people who might be starting to travel again. Maybe you're heading somewhere for vacation and you have a long plane right ahead of you. You could use Mango while the phone is in airplane mode. It's also great for patrons who might not have internet at home. So they could come to the library, download their lessons, and continue their language learning wherever they are. There's also Bluetooth syncing as well as a hands-free autoplay feature. So we will talk about that a little bit more too. In addition to these features, another new thing we've recently released is the ability to add family profiles. So each Mango profile has the ability to add up to 5 additional family profiles. So this is great for patrons who might have younger family members who don't have their own library cards and email addresses yet, and just to encourage the whole family to get in on the language learning adventure. All right, so as I mentioned, we are going to dive into a lesson. So I am going to switch my screen real quick so we can get to the login page. Okay, so here we can see that we are looking at the login screen for Mango. So there is, we do have the option, of course, to create profiles for new users, and all we need is a simple username and password combination. But oops, for today's lesson, I am going to dive into an existing profile. So upon logging in, a brand new user will first be prompted to select the language of their choosing to start learning, but returning users will be taken into the course that they were most recently using. So you can see here that the last course that I was using was the Spanish Latin American course. You can see that we're looking up here in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. So you can switch the language that you're learning by clicking up here, and it's going to bring up the list of everything that we have. So the learner's most 5 recent used courses will always be highlighted here at the top. And then we have the most popular languages sectioned out. And then we, of course, have everything listed alphabetically. For some languages, we do have multiple dialects. So you can see here for Arabic, for example, we have Egyptian, Iraqi, Levantine, and Modern Standard. So, if you see anything listed in parentheses, those are the languages that we have additional courses in. For our ESL courses, first you would select English, and then it's going to ask you what your mother tongue is. So the best part about these is that they are completely written and narrated in whatever that mother tongue is. So for example, if I were a native Mandarin Chinese speaker looking to use Mango to learn English, it's going to be completely written and narrated in Mandarin. So it makes it super easy for learners of all levels to utilize the program. So yeah, before we actually jump into the lesson, just to kind of highlight a couple of things on the screen. In the upper left-hand corner, you see here, we've got this big blue resume learning button. So this allows you to pick up right where you left off, whether you were learning with Mango on mobile or on the desktop, since it does sync between the 2 platforms. And below the resume learning button, we've got that daily review feature that I mentioned. So the daily review feature uses a unique spatial repetition algorithm to select keywords and phrases that have been learned in previous lessons. So basically what it does is it helps the learner have the opportunity to continue reviewing previously learned material to make sure that they don't forget it and that it's committed to their long-term memory. If you have someone who is jumping into a course for the first time, maybe they studied a little bit of French in high school and want to brush back up to it, and they're not quite sure where to start in Mango, we do have placement tests available. So it's just a quick assessment, and then it will recommend a place for you to start. But Mango is a self-paced program, so it's not one of the ones where you have to start at lesson 1, chapter 1. You can kind of jump around and move freely depending on what information is most relevant to you. So as we continue moving down the left-hand side of the screen, you can see we've got the main units of the language content broken out here. For our top 9 languages, we currently have 5 units. For some of the other languages, we have 2 to 3. And for some of our more developed courses, we also have these specialty courses here. So as I mentioned before, some of them, things like the Spanish for Librarians course, the business course, the legal course, these are great for more professional development situations, people who might have a specific topic that they're interested in. For example, someone who works in a hospital, a lot of Spanish speakers could benefit from taking the medical Spanish course because it's going to brush up on vocab. We've got some fun ones too, like text talk, and we also have a romance course for all of our romance languages. So each of our units, each of these 5 main units are then broken down into different chapters, and each chapter is then broken down into lessons. So you can see here that we are in Unit 1, Chapter 1, and then we've got a couple different lessons right here. So each chapter in Mango has a thematic title that represents functional, practical skills that you're going to be learning. So you can see here, for example, Chapter 1 is salutations and small talk. In this chapter, you'll learn how to greet people, how to say hello, common questions like looking for bus stops and things like that. As you get a little bit deeper into the chapters, you'll learn how to talk about things like places and directions, currency and counting, food and drink culture, and more. So each of the lessons take about 15 to 20 minutes to complete, depending on the language and the learner's experience with the language, but they're broken down in nice bite-sized chunks so that it's easy to kind of tackle one portion of the topic and then move on to the next one. So for our top 9 languages, we have also released these listening and reading activities that are available for the first 2 units. You'll find these at the end of the chapters, and they basically both reinforce things that you've learned throughout the chapter and also introduce new vocabulary words. So it's great for people who learn in different ways. Some people are more visual, some people prefer audio to learn. So this is adaptable depending on whatever the learner's personal preference is. You'll also see the option for a recap. So the chapter recap allows you to quickly get back up to speed on a chapter after you've taken a break, or if you just want like a quick little refresher. So now let's get into it. So for today, we're going to dive in to chapter 2 so we can see a little bit of content. We're going to do today's demo in the Spanish Latin American course. Okay, so each chapter is going to start with both your conversational goals and your grammar goals. So you're going to learn how to do things like ask and tell someone where you're from, ask if someone speaks a language. So you can see that these topics line up with the title of the chapter, which is Languages and Origins. We also have grammar goals too. So this will kind of give you just a heads up of the things that you can look forward to learning throughout the chapter. The next thing you're going to see is a full conversation between 2 native Spanish speakers. So all of our chapters begin with a full conversation in the target language. And then throughout the language, you're going to learn how to have this conversation and conversations like it surrounding the theme of the conversation. So we're going to take this conversation, introduce it to you, and then break it down and slowly teach it to you bit by bit, and then slowly put it back together. So at the end of the chapter, the conversation will be played again, and you can really see just how far you've progressed in learning. So let's take a listen.
Here's the conversation we'll be studying in this chapter. Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés?
Sí, hablo inglés.
¿Usted habla español?
Hablo un poco de español.
¿De dónde es usted?
Soy de los Estados Unidos. Me encanta Chile en primavera.
Okay, so if you were someone who has not really had any experience with learning the language, it might be a little intimidating to have a whole conversation thrown at you. But again, it's not for you to just have to learn all of this right now. It's just to give you an example of what you can look forward to learning throughout the chapter. So as we move on to the next slide, you'll see that we're starting to take these different sentences and break them down bit by bit.
This is how you'd say, "Excuse me, do you speak English?" in a formal setting. Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés?
Okay, so I wanted to jump into chapter 2 so that we could get a little bit deeper into it so that we can see a little bit of a longer sentence. So something that should pop out to everyone here are all of the different colors. And that's what we call our semantic color mapping. So just by glancing at this, you can see exactly which words in both English and Spanish line up together. So without even knowing how to say these words, I can see here that excuse me in Spanish lines up with this blue word here, disculpe. So to help with the pronunciation, we've got what we call these phonetic pop-ups. So as you can see, by hovering over a word, you'll see how to pronounce the word. So you can do this for both the individual words in the sentence, or if you come down here to this green speaker icon, you'll see it for the entire sentence. You can also click on it to hear the narrator pronounce it again.
Disculpe, ¿usted habla inglés?
So if we're doing it this way, we'll hear the narrator say the sentence at a kind of a natural conversational pace, like you would just hear if you were speaking with someone. But to get a little bit more in tune with the pronunciation, you can also do it for each individual word. And there, the native speaker pronounces at a slower, more articulated rate to help you with the pronunciation.
Disculpe, usted habla inglés.
So you can really get in there and practice until you feel comfortable with how to say the sentence. To help with that even more, we have a voice comparison feature. So with this voice comparison feature, you can listen to the narrator's recording.
Disculpe, disculpe, usted habla inglés.
And then you can record yourself so that you can practice saying it. So we can hover over here to get a reminder of it. Disculpe, usted habla inglés. So it's going to pop up this cool little sound graph. You can slide it so that you can visualize the pacing of it. And then you can play just the narrator's version, just your own version, or you can play them simultaneously.
Disculpe, usted habla inglés.
So we call this sometimes the world's most patient tutor because you can literally go in there and practice over and over and over again until you are comfortable with your pronunciation. So I am going to jump ahead just a little bit to highlight a few other things.
Based on what you've already learned, what do you think is the correct way to say, do you speak English in a formal setting?
Okay, so the last slide we were on was an example of a teaching slide where the phrase is first taught to you and you can kind of get in there and practice it. This here is an example of a quiz slide. So I skipped a couple chat pages, but a couple slides before this is where we were introduced to say, do you speak English? So with the quiz slide, you can see there's this little timer here. You can pause it if you need more time, or if you're ready to see the answer, you can click show answer.
¿Usted habla inglés?
So we can go in here again, we can practice our voice comparison if we wanted to, or take a look at the pronunciation. But the next slide is where we're going to see an example of a grammar note.
Did you notice there's no word in Spanish equivalent to the English do when used in questions?
So this is referring to that previous slide where we asked the question in English, do you speak English? But when we saw that translation, there was no do in Spanish. So these grammar notes are built into each lesson to kind of provide additional insights, more clarity, and to help with more structured learning. So most of the grammar in Mango is learned without you even noticing. We call it stealth grammar, and the semantic color mapping is one way in which that's done. Because by glancing at the sentence with those different colors, you can start to learn the sentence structure and the word order of the language. But these grammar notes pop in to help you further understand anything that might not be completely clear. So just like these grammar notes are sprinkled throughout the lessons, we've also got these culture notes. So let's jump ahead a little bit to one of those.
The number of English-Spanish bilinguals in Mexico is increasing. Over the past couple of years, a great number of schools have incorporated English courses into their curriculum. On the other hand, a lot of indigenous languages spoken in the country have been losing speakers, though efforts are underway to revitalize them.
So these culture notes, just like the grammar notes, are all designed specifically for each course, depending on the particular language, the topic, and also what conversation is being learned in the specific chapter. So, we're in the Latin American Spanish course here. So this culture note, that's why it's focusing on multilingualism in Mexico specifically. So these are really great to help the learners get a little bit more in touch with the culture of the language that they are learning. So once you get to the end of a chapter, it'll confirm that you have completed it. So as I mentioned before, Mango is self-paced, so you can move forward or backward at your own comfortability. So if you wanted to go back to a couple more slides, you can click back.
How do you say?
If you want to restart the lesson as a whole, you can do that. You can also jump into your review cards for the day if you want to kind of do some practicing and make sure that you're not forgetting anything that you learned the previous day. Or if you want to get back to the home screen, you just click the X up here in the upper left-hand corner. So a couple other things I'd like to highlight, some of our additional features up here in this Explore tab. This is where we have an additional feature called Mango Movies. So just like some of our more developed courses have additional specialty courses, some of them also have additional films that you can watch. So we have authentic foreign films that we've applied our methodology to. And there are two different ways that you can navigate through these. So one of them is called movie mode. pretty traditional to just watch the film on Netflix or a DVD, but our methodology is applied to it. So you can utilize the subtitles in both English or the target language, and then we've got that semantic color mapping. So you're still learning the same way you are through Mango, but you're also enjoying a film. There's also engage mode, which helps you dive a little bit deeper. So in engage mode, the movie is segmented into 5 to 7 minute clips. And before each section, there will be information about the conversation that you're about to hear. You can take a look at any key vocab words, any specific culture notes or things like that to help you really get the most of your experience with the movie. So this is great for learners who might want to dive a little bit deeper into the culture or language that they're learning. In the Tools tab, we also have a super quick translation tool. So this is very similar to Google Translate, but it comes in handy the most because since Mango tries to teach you to create sentences on your own in your language, this is great for plugging in specific vocab words that you specifically want to say. So for example, maybe in the lesson, it will teach you how to order a glass of wine at a restaurant. But if you want to learn how to order a glass of orange juice, you could quickly come in here, translate the word for orange juice, and then just plug that into the sentence that you've learned. In addition to this tools resource, we do also have some additional resources available on mangolanguages.com. Things like links to a YouTube series where we have different topics such as the Russian alphabet. We also have a Japanese language learning video. And there are also different activities or other fun things that you can use to practice the language. A couple other quick things in here to highlight, we have a quick link to our support team. So we've got a link to our FAQs page, as well as a box where users can always submit any questions, concerns, or feedback that they have. And then we make it nice and easy to access your profile too. So by clicking on your name in the upper right-hand corner of the screen, you can easily come in and change your password. You can link to different organizations, check your activity where you can see which languages you've been doing and how long you've spent in them. And this is where you'll also access our family profiles feature that we talked about. So here is where you go to create new profiles. It's very simple. You just need a username and a password. And then that user can access their own Mango profile with their own individual login information. And it will also track your usage separately, but still be connected under the one main family account. So that pretty much is Mango in a nutshell. As I mentioned with the mobile apps, all of those great features that we saw are available in there. So if you are looking to, practice your voice recording while you are on the go, you can do all of those great things. Something else that I would like to highlight too is that we also have administration features available for the librarians in the state. So for anyone who's interested in tracking the particular usage statistics for their library, we can always create you an individual account so that you can log in and see which languages are being used, how long people are spending in there, how many people are using the mobile app versus the desktop version. And we also have free digital promotional materials available for you to help promote Mango as well. So you can go to this link down here, promotemango.com/library-social-communication. And we've got things like sample social media posts. There are things that you can use in your Facebook banner section, for example, or we even have sample Instagram posts. And then there's also fun Zoom backgrounds like this one that I'm using here. So if you want to pretend that you were in Greece or maybe take a little vacation to France, there's a lot of great fun things to help spread the word about Mango available on the website. So that pretty much sums up the bulk of it. I do have my contact information posted here on the screen. So if anyone does have any questions, if you are interested in getting an individual account for your library set up so that you can track the usage, or if you want to chat about fun ways that we could promote Mango at your library, please reach out. I'm also happy to help with things like community outreach. We always encourage partnering with your local schools, different restaurants, and things like that to help share this language learning resource. And it's a great way to get patrons into the library so that they can check out your other resources as well. So we've got, of course, time for questions. Let's see, does anyone have any questions so far? Would anyone like to poke around in any particular languages? Since we've got some time left, we can check out a couple different languages.
Thanks, Sabrina, for your presentation. And like she said, if there are some questions you all can go ahead and ask them by putting them in the chat, or you can use the raise your hand feature. Or if you just like for her to demo something else inside Mango, let us know. How many, I think I remember that you all have, is it 70 plus languages?
Yeah, and I can pull up that list again too that highlights everything so we can actually take a second to look at it. And it's fun too, because in addition to the world languages, we also have some kind of like fun, silly ones. Like we have a pirate course, for example. So September 19th is National Talk Like a Pirate Day. So that one definitely gets a lot of usage around that time of year. We've also got things like a Shakespearean English course. So we have, some people who utilize that one to have fun. There are a lot of, we do also have some both indigenous and endangered languages. So we recently released a Potawatomi course, for example. Like I think that is our most recent language that we released. We partnered with a couple different Potawatomi tribes out here in Michigan and out in this area, and partnered with them to create this course. So there's a lot of fun stuff like that too, aside from the basic Spanish, French,
German. I do see that we have one hand raised.
That is Nan Brown, actually, if she would like to ask her question.
Hi, I'm in Fulton County Schools, and we are collaborating with the Fulton County Public Library to do sessions for our students. Do our students with the Fulton County Library account, do they have the full functionality of everything you just shared? Do you know?
Yeah, they sure do. So they'll have access to every single thing that we saw. So they'll be able to use it both on desktop and mobile. And the activity feature where you can go in and see how long you've spent, what particular course, that's a really great way for them to help, make sure that they're on pace. I'm not sure how you have the course laid out, like if you want to use in a specific amount of time, but just something to keep in mind. That's something that you can definitely utilize as well to help integrating that with the students.
Okay, so we have, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, we have a second question from Angie Hughes, and she asks, has there ever been any thoughts of adding ASL?
Yes, I just saw that one. So there absolutely has. There was a point where we did have a brief, like a short ASL course, but we ran into the issue where we partnered with a third party to create it. And after we had released it, we realized that the person that they partnered with wasn't a native speaker of ASL. And that's a huge part about Mango's methodology, is we always try to partner with native speakers to make sure that we get all of the nuances. So we are currently in the process of trying to find another partner to actually continue developing out the course. So we don't have a set timeline for that yet, but it's definitely something that's on our radar. And also the way that our linguists and our product development team decide what to build out next is by what we're getting requested. So once we finish up here, I'll go in and submit another request for it, because they kind of treat it like a tally system. So this will definitely help kind of push it to the top and help it get done quicker. So with that being said, if there are any other languages that anyone is getting requested at the library, or if you're just curious about anything in particular, definitely feel free to send those my way, because I am always happy to submit those requests. Let's see, any other questions? I'm struggling with the chat feature. Let's see, a full list of the ESL courses. Definitely, let me pull that up real quick.
And as a reminder, her slides will be available after her session on Sketch that you can download for your use.
And to highlight these ones, I'm actually going to go to the homepage at mangolanguages.com, because this list makes it a little bit easier. So we've got all the world languages here, but for all of the ESL courses, these are listed here. And so just like for the world languages that are more developed with the specialty courses, there are some of our more popular ESL courses that have some specialty courses as well. So you can see we've got, for Spanish, there is a business English for native Spanish speakers course. One of my favorites is the ESL for Spanish speaking job seekers. So it will teach you things like how to fill out a resume, common interview questions, and things like that. So here is a list for these ones.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no problem. And while we are on the website, just to also highlight, you can see here the Mango movies. If you want to see a list of all of the specific films that we have listed, we've got those broken down by the age range that we suggest that they are appropriate for, and then you'll easily see which languages they're available for. I mentioned that we've got some endangered and indigenous languages as well. You can kind of get some cool information about those here as well. And then those additional resources that I mentioned. So we have a whole page dedicated to it where there are useful phrases. We do have a couple small videos. It's not a full course, unfortunately, but for the question about ASL, there are a couple things available by going to the website. So definitely make sure to check that out too, because there's a lot of really great stuff to help with the, with whatever specific things that your patrons are looking for.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. Let's see if there are any additional questions for Sabrina this afternoon. Not seeing any come in, no hands raised. Thank you for putting that end slide up. So we'll go ahead and conclude the session. I want to thank Sabrina for coming this afternoon to give this Mango Languages presentation. If you do have additional questions for her, her contact information is right there on the screen, as well as an extension. Well, that's like direct access.
I'm here to help you guys, so always feel free to reach out.
Her slides will be on the Sketch site, and then the recording will be available at a later date. So I want to thank all of you all for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Take care.